Hello everyone, how are you? It's Makeda Valletta, also known as the Renaissance Amazon. I'm live on IG. For those of you who follow me on IG, you already know what my name is, hopefully. But I will be saving this video and reposting it to my YouTube page, the Renaissance Amazon, okay? So if you follow me in one place, make sure you follow me in both places. And I'm live right now from beautiful Chicago. Isn't it lovely? Anyhow, for those of you who do follow me, you know that I am a critical thinker, and I like to talk about a lot of social issues, sexuality, health, of course. And today I want to talk a little bit about politics, okay? I'm not a political expert by any means, but I just want to tell you a little bit about my background, where I'm coming from, and then I want to talk a little bit about Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and all of this stuff that's going on, okay? So for me, I was born and raised in Harlem, New York City, in the 80s, early 80s, team 1981. My dad was heavily involved in the civil rights movement. He was a black radical. He is from St. Augustine, Florida, okay? Florida has a different history than the rest of the South, even though Florida now has a lot of crazy people, bottom of the barrel ass people in Florida now. The legacy of black Floridians and Afro-Floridians and Afro-Indigenous people from Florida is very strong. The Seminoles, Afro-Seminoles, black Seminoles, and them fighting against the U.S. government and never bowing down to white people, okay? So my dad was kicked out of college, Florida A&M University, for being involved in the civil rights movement. The student sit-ins began his freshman year of college. My dad was born in 1942. So in 1960, he was 18. And my dad thought that he was either going to kill somebody or be killed, either kill a white man or get killed staying in Florida. So he left and went to Philadelphia. And he kind of grew up between Florida and Philly, okay? He would spend his summers in Philly and New York, but he lived in St. Augustine, Florida when he went to school. So my dad was on the radio in Philadelphia. Queen Mother Moore was his mentor at 19 years old. A lot of people don't know who Queen Mother Moore is, but she is a really important figure in the civil rights movement. When my dad was 19, she was already like probably 60, okay? She's from Louisiana. Also a Leo, lioness like me. And there's so many dope Leo leaders. People love to hate on Leos, but Barack Obama is a Leo. Fidel Castro is a Leo. Marcus Garvey is a Leo, okay? And Queen Mother Moore. Okay, so she was my dad's mentor, and she discovered him on the radio in Philly, and she she encouraged the radio station and people listening to raise money to send my dad around the black world so he could report back. My dad didn't want to do that. He didn't do it, but he was one of the organizers of the first Black Power Conference in Philadelphia. Well, in the country, but it happened in Philadelphia. I think it was like 1962, 63, something like that. He was a part of the organization that strategically put together the Black Panthers. It was RAM, Revolutionary Action Movement. He was a part of the same organization that Assata Shakur was a part of, RAM, okay? And they strategically put together the Black Panthers, which did not start in Oakland. It started in Lawrence County, Alabama. I have conversations with my dad where he explains how all that happened. And they started in Lawrence County, Alabama, registering people to vote, okay, black people to vote. And overnight, the elected officials changed from white to black in Alabama because of that, because blacks in Alabama way outnumbered white people, right? My dad knew Malcolm X very well. He was at over 100 of his speeches. He was there the day Malcolm got killed. He was supposed to be there. I think he said he was supposed to be on stage with him. I know he was supposed to be there. My dad was not a part of the Nation of Islam, but he got there after Malcolm had already been assassinated that day. The Audubon Ballroom where Malcolm was assassinated is 5 blocks from where I grew up. in Harlem, Sugar Hill, okay? They filmed Juice on my block and in my building, New Jack City, and Malcolm X, okay? So growing up in the crack era, like, you know, I had a great time growing up in New York, but my dad was a journalist in my lifetime, and I used to always hear him talking about wanting to move out of New York because of drugs, right? And how bad things were in the 80s. And I remember, you know, also, my dad was also a professor of Afro-American Studies. He was one of the organizers of the Afro-American Studies Department at UMass Amherst, okay? And he was a professor with no degree, okay, at 27 years old. So he's the way he raised me and my twin brother was to thoroughly research things, right, before we form an opinion, okay? And research both sides, okay? But have facts to back up have facts to back up your opinions, okay? So the first time, and when I was a little girl, my dad was on the radio in New York, WBAI, 99.5 FM, the non-commercial radio station where you could say whatever you want. And he was an op-ed journalist for the New York Daily News, The Village Voice, Emerge Magazine. He wrote in the first issue of The Source. He wrote for the Manchester Guardian of London. He would be on TV. And so he always wrote his opinion. So the very first time I went on the radio, I was in the 4th grade. And with one of my childhood best friends who we're still really good friends. She's still a super intelligent woman. But we were on my dad's radio show in the 4th grade, and I was talking about animal rights, and I was talking about women's reproductive rights, right? And so with the animal rights, I was saying that I wish I could take all the animal rights activists and put them in Yankee Stadium with a bunch of lions and see if the lions feel the same way about them, okay? Because even as a little girl, I was annoyed by the animal rights activists throwing paint on people's fur coats and all that, you know, retardedness. And I'm like, nature is deadly, okay? There are plenty of animals that rip you to shreds. And I knew that when I was little. And I was also an avid women's reproductive rights, abortion rights activist when I was in the 4th grade. I don't know why, but I was, right? So I was speaking about those things. And even being his daughter, even being the age I was, if I said something, even on the radio, and it didn't make sense, so I couldn't back it up, my dad would not be hard on me, but he would challenge me. He's not like, what are your sources, okay? You also have to critique your sources. And so this was ingrained in me from childhood. Besides the fact that I wasn't raised religious, right? Most people were raised religious, and whether it is Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, which are the main problems with the planet, those 3 main religions, but even some people who are raised in African religions and most religions teach you, or all of them, to my knowledge, that you're just supposed to go along with what they're telling you, okay? You're not supposed to question things. You're supposed to just believe what they say and go along with the okie doke with very little evidence. I'm not like that. I wasn't raised like that on any level, okay? Then I remember in the 7th grade being on the debate team, and we learned to, when you're preparing for a debate, you have to research the arguments of both sides. So you don't just stick and look at the things that agree with you, okay? And then I got into science. So in science, you must be objective, and to really do really good research, there's a lot of scientists who are doing stuff for money, right? They could care less about the truth. They just want what they're going to get funding for. They want to please the funders, and they want to keep along with that because they want the money. And they're going to go along with the okie doke because they want the money. There's a lot of scientists who do that. But a true scientist in true science, you're supposed to be objective. You're supposed to look at everything. You're supposed to think critically, okay? So this is who I am on every level, right? So now that I have, you know, put that disclaimer out there, okay, there's a couple other things. Okay, yeah, I'm okay. All right, so my dad being a journalist, being heavy involved in the civil rights movement, my mother, all of my life, she's been a labor organizer, okay? So she works for the UAW, which is the United Auto Workers, which is the same union that Martin Luther King was doing a lot of work with, okay? So a lot of people don't know, like Martin Luther King in his last days, he wasn't just talking about black issues, but it was issues of the poor, of the working people, okay? And he was doing a lot of work with the UAW, the United Auto Workers, all right? And all of my life, I grew up on picket lines, seeing my mother yeah, so my mom's union that she worked for, the local she worked for, represented Columbia University, clerical workers, Barnard, Women's Feminist Press, Union Theological Seminary, the Museum of Modern Art, and then my mother's union was the first union to organize TAs. And these bees. And they organized the TAs at NYU, okay? And my mother is very much connected to politics. She's very involved in it. When Hillary Clinton, before Hillary Clinton went into office in New York, when she was thinking about running and talking about running for office in New York, I remember I was in college. I was in a room with my mother's union when they interviewed her to see if they wanted to endorse her. It was like 10 people. I was one of those people in that room, right? My mom, she knew Bernie Sanders for a long time. She has photos with him. She'd worked with him before. She's worked on political campaigns from local to presidential. My mother was born in 1949, so she's 71 now, right? And still, she counsels presidents of unions. Still, she works with locals. Still, since COVID, not anymore, but she was still organizing buses to go to D.C. for different things at marches. Every time it was an election year, especially presidential election year, she'd be going door to door in different places. So I always watched my mom and felt like I should do more, right? Like I should be doing more. But the thing is, I come from two parents who are heavily involved and know what's going on. So me, I'm a science person, right? I don't claim to be an expert on politics at all, right? But I did grow up around certain things. So also, what was I going to say? I remember, when Obama, even when Obama won the first time, before Obama became the Democratic nominee for the presidential race, my mother's union actually was endorsing Edwards, right? So neither one of my parents jumped on Obama because he was black, right? They both wanted to see, everything. They didn't automatically say, a black man's running, we're going to support him. That's not what they did. And I remember my mother's sister coming from Georgia to work on Obama's campaign when my mother was working, and her union were working on Edwards' campaign, right? Okay. When Obama became the presidential nominee and he became president, of course, I remember I was in Florida with my dad in his hometown when he won the first time, and my dad had tears coming from his eyes, okay? He talked about what it was like when he left his hometown, how he never thought that he would see a black president in his lifetime, how all of the fight, all of the fight that he had done and people had done for so long, that to see something actually pay off, because I don't care what people say. There's a lot of black people who want to act like Obama's our enemy. I'm not with that shit, and I'm going to talk about that as I go on with this conversation, right? Obama was highly qualified. He didn't have any crazy scandals. He was, so many people in the black community who complain that, we don't see positive images of black families, and we don't see, black men being fathers, or whatever the fuck, black love, whatever people complain about. You saw all that with Obama. He loved his wife, and his wife was a real-ass black American woman from the south side of Chicago. It gets no more authentically black than that, okay? He respected his wife. You could tell he really loved his wife. Most politicians don't look like they give a fuck about their wife. It looks like it's just for show, They don't look like they really love their wives. Obama, you could tell he did. He's a good father. He was close to his daughters. And I myself am a daddy's girl, so I have a soft spot for fathers and daughters. So, and a lot of people forget that, we don't live in a dictatorship, okay? There's no one person that holds all the power. If you're president, you still have to work with Congress. You still have to work with, and another thing about politics and being a politician, if you're a politician, you really are supposed to do what your constituents want, right? You're not, technically, if you're a politician, you're not really supposed to go in there with a hardened opinion. I mean, even though this happens, because we're human, but you go in with a hard-nosed opinion, and the constituents who put you in office want something. You're not supposed to really just ignore that either. You know what I'm saying? So, and you have to deal with the majority. It's a lot of different things. So this is the reason why I feel like politicians can flip-flop at different times, because it might depend on the constituents, That's why when things are going on and we want laws to be passed, people say, call your local politician, you know, call them, write them, you know. So we play a role in doing those things, and they listen to us, and sometimes they may flip-flop because of that. And there's just a whole lot in the political game, right? So anyhow, I'm going to say that. I'm going to jump back a little bit and also say that, so putting all this in context, you know, I also remember when Bush took office the second time, I was fresh out of college, and I remember my mom said to me, she said, I feel sorry for your generation, because she said, what this man is about to do is not going to get fixed in my lifetime. And when you all, it's not going to get fixed in the next 10 years, it's not going to get fixed in my lifetime. And she said, when your generation gets to be my age, you all are going to have nothing, right? I remember her saying that to me. Then the economy fell and things have just trickled. Now, I think a lot of young people, okay, myself included, because I'm not a political expert, I don't follow it probably nearly as much as I should, but a lot of older people do. And I really respect the opinions of my parents because of what they do, what they stand for. I come from a freedom-fighting family, okay? I don't come from a family of people that sit around, you know, not doing shit. And there are a lot of people I know who are my parents' age who weren't doing shit during the Civil Rights Movement, but they still benefited off of it, right? So the thing is my dad talks about how he had, when crack started coming to Harlem, he has friends, a couple people he knows who were civil rights leaders who went to jail for killing drug dealers, how they all wanted to kill these damn drug dealers that were coming. And so my dad talks about the crime bill and how black Americans begged for this crime bill, begged for it, because, you know, these crack dealers are terrorizing neighborhoods all over the country. And that it was never initially meant to dealing with marijuana, but the way that the government works and laws work, you could write a law, and then people would attach things to it. They attach these amendments or whatever the fuck they attach to it. And then it becomes a thing of, you know, you can't change it. So either you can pass a law with all these amendments that's attached to it or not. So even though it was never meant to deal with marijuana and that was attached to it, it still was a situation of you get this law or you don't. And black Americans begged for it. So now, fast forward, you have a lot of black people mad at the Clintons. Oh, you know, the crime bill and yada, yada, yada. And they incarcerate all these black people, yada, yada, yada. But it's a revisionist history, okay? We have to be fair, okay? And black people can't always be claiming victim, victim, victim for every fucking thing. We also have to take responsibility for certain shit. And I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy with black Americans that I can't get with sometimes. Like, I just can't get with a lot of the hood rat ignorance. I'm just sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, people like NWA talking about fuck the police when y'all look like motherfucking gangbangers, okay? And fucking Dre over here beating women. The police should have fucked his ass up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, there's a lot of fucked up police. You know, both of my mom has gone to jail for protesting police brutality shit in the 90s even. You know, my dad has written articles. So I come from a family, but at the same time, let's not act like there's not a lot of ignorant ass black people out here who are dead wrong too, and who are a threat. And dead ass, everybody that I know that's been murdered has been murdered by other black men. I don't know anyone who's been murdered by the police. The amount of black men that kill other black men is astronomical. Astronomical, okay? Compared to the amount of black people that were lynched in the South at its worst. And compared to the amount of cops that kill black people. Now, I'm not saying there's not an issue of police brutality. There is, and it's not even just amongst black people. There's an issue of police brutality, period. Now, black people might catch it more and a higher percentage, but there's an issue with it, period. And I remember when I was in high school, there was National Police Brutality Day, which was October 22nd. And my whole school used to walk out. We used to wear all black and we used to walk out, including all my white teachers. Okay, so that's how I grew up. But it wasn't centered around just black people. Like, we know that black people are a high percentage, but there are a lot of white people who are killed by the police who shouldn't be, and those cops don't get in trouble. There are Asians and Hispanics and other people who also get killed by the police, and the cops don't get in trouble. So we have an issue with how the system works. But I also don't believe in just going and shooting random cops. I can never get behind that ignorant shit, period, point, motherfucking blank. I can't. It's like, if you want to do that, go fuck up the people who, go kill the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Go do that. You know what I'm saying? But just going up to random cops, like all cops are our enemy, you know, and a lot of them, you know, they don't even get paid that much to be risking their lives the way they do. I wouldn't want that job. So I'm just saying, like, I'd like to have a fair balance perspective when I'm talking about issues, okay? So now going to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, Donald Trump. Okay. I'm not excited about Joe Biden, okay? And it's funny because Joe Biden spoke at my college graduation, right? From the University of Delaware in 2003. And he was in office in Delaware when I was in college. And I remember when he spoke at my college graduation, I remember really liking him. I thought he gave a great speech, I thought he had great energy, and I liked him. And that stayed in my mind, right? So when Obama picked him as his VP, I was like, I remembered my college graduation impression of him, and I liked him. And when he was Obama's VP, I felt like he had good energy. He always seemed like a good sidekick, right? The vice president doesn't have that much power, you know. But after, you know, Obama left office and now Biden is running, he seemed a little creepy to me and off, right? Something about him seems off, like he's not really present. I don't think that he could be such a horrible person if Obama chose him as VP. I do think that there's not a single politician or leader on the planet who people don't have negative things to say and positive things to say about. Fidel Castro. I'm a fan of Fidel Castro. But ask the Cubans in Miami, Castro's the devil, he's the worst person. Talk to the Cubans in Cuba, a lot of them love Castro. But even the ones who love him sometimes might say their things about him, like the fact that we can't leave the country, you know, just certain things. So like there's the good and bad. I can't think of one leader on the planet where you can't do that about. You know, there are a lot of black people who are mad at Obama because of Gaddafi. And, you know, I speak to my dad who's an expert on world issues. Like he doesn't just study black issues. He knows what's going on in the world. He could get into a lecture with you about what's going on in the Muslim world, the different kinds of Muslims, why they're fighting, different kinds of Jews, and all the what's going on in Asia, the Chinese Revolution. My dad could get into all of that. And with Gaddafi, my dad was not a Gaddafi fan. He thought Gaddafi was an asshole and a horrible person and about to commit genocide. And so when he talks about it, he doesn't speak about Gaddafi like, oh, he's this great African leader. He's actually racist. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't black. He was actually racist. You know what I'm saying? So I know a lot of people are very lightweight about what they know, okay? Very lightweight about what they know. I also understand the media because my dad, I grew up with him being involved in the media and I saw him fighting with his editors and fighting with the media, and there's a lot of politics in the media as well, so I know all about that too. But also on the flip side, you know, journalists expose a lot of things. Yes, Gaddafi killed millions of Africans, yeah. And he was a fucking Arab, and Arabs are like, you know, horrible with Africans, you know. So, and I grew up in a house with all kinds of books, like all kinds of scholarly texts, and not just stuff about black people, not just stuff about black Americans, no, the whole black world, the whole world. You want to talk about Russia, you want to talk about France, you want to talk about the motherfucking shit in Asia. I don't know. My dad knows about all of that. He studies all of that, all right? And he doesn't read bullshit. And so I'm the same way. I'm an avid reader. I don't read bullshit. If you look at the books that I post on my Instagram page, I'm always recommending certain books. They're all scholarly texts. And there are a certain amount of black people that feel like if a black person didn't write it, it can't be the truth. That's bullshit too, because some of the best research written on black people has been written by white people, especially Jews in particular. Okay, there's a book, The Living Gods of Haiti, written by Maya Deren. That book taught me more about Haitian voodoo than anything. It's written by a Jewish woman, and I know Haitian drummers in New York who come from legendary voodoo families, legendary families, who tell me that book is the truth. That book is the truth. You know, their family was involved in the book, whatever, co-signed from people like that. There's a book that I read on Rara. It's a Haitian tradition. Like, I'm dancing for Haitian dance companies, and the Haitians that I was dancing for didn't give me the real history on what Rara was. And I read a book by a Jewish woman who married a Haitian man, participated in the Haitian Raras, wrote a book with some real shit. You know what I'm saying? Excellent book. With the Rara book, I forget, but it's yellow and colorful. I'm sure if you put Haitian Rara in Amazon, it'll come up. And it's written by, she's a professor in the Bay Area, a Jewish woman. Also, there's a man named Robert Farris Thompson. He's a professor. Oh, the Living Gods of Haiti? Yeah, so, yeah. You can always go back and rewind my video if you missed something I said, okay? There's also, oh yeah, Robert Farris Thompson. He's a professor in Texas. I think he's white American. And he's an expert on the Congo. He's written so many books. I mean, a book on the tango. The tango is originally a Congo-derived dance. It came from Africans. It wasn't this upright, straight European corny shit you see in Argentina now. But Argentina is very racist. They try to kill the black people. But Robert Farris Thompson has written books about that and many, many things. And he's a recognized scholar on Congo stuff, right? So to me, it's not just about, oh, if a black person wrote it. Because there's a lot of, oh, ladybug. I haven't seen a ladybug in so long. When's the last time anybody has seen a ladybug? There's a freaking ladybug. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. Let me bring it back. Okay. So now, even though no, I'm not excited about Joe Biden, right? And then when it comes to Kamala Harris, this is what I do know, right? And again, like I said, I like to research. I don't like to be biased. So I welcome anybody to share any information, facts, okay? I like to deal with facts. I don't like to deal with people that have, a lot of people form opinions. They can't back up why they have these opinions. Like, people are like, oh, Kamala Harris is so bad. Why? Why do you say that? And then people can say things, but then it's like, do you know this is true? Like, do you fact check, right? Do you know this is true? Then, so I like to see facts, like vetted facts, right? And then put things into context, right? Like really analyze it deeply and put it into context. And the thing is, what I do know about Kamala Harris, that she's from Oakland, okay? Another uniquely black place, all right? Her parents met at a civil rights march. Okay, now me being a child of somebody who was involved in the civil rights movement and growing up around other people whose parents were involved in the civil rights movement, who actively participated, I know that when you come from that, you're going to come with a certain amount of consciousness and a certain fire and a certain level of excellence, black excellence that you aspire to, right? And look for and hold on your shoulders. And so, like, I feel like when people are like, oh, she's, half Indian and this and that. First of all, it's like, there isn't a black person in America who's not mixed, okay? All of us are. All of us have lots of native blood. A lot of us have lots of European blood. You got the people that's part Asian, part this, part that. You know what I'm saying? That's true in America. That's true in Jamaica. That's true. I mean, it's even more true in America, but I'm saying in Jamaica and South America and all over the Caribbean, all over the Americas, us black people, a lot of times are mixtures of things, okay? That's number one. We are the sum total of all of our genes, and Kamala Harris is raised by her mother. If she identified, if somebody called her Indian American, because the thing is that in America and in the world, people want you to pick a box. So if she's being interviewed and somebody calls her Indian American, if she doesn't correct them and say Black American, that's fine, because she is Indian American. And she's Afro-American, And she might be a different kind of Afro-American than I am, because my parents are from here for generations. She's like a Jamaican American or whatever, black, whatever. But, you know what I'm saying? She's a woman of color. I feel like she is, not just a woman of color, but I call myself Afro-Indigenous, okay, because I definitely acknowledge my native ancestry, okay, and I resonate more even so with my native ancestry than my African ancestry, because I've never been to Africa. Nobody in my family's ever been to Africa. We have no connections to Africa. We don't speak those languages. We don't have that culture. For as long as I can trace, my family has been born and buried in this land, okay, so this is my homeland. I don't look at Africa as home. I know that I have African blood, but I also have lots of native blood and other things, and you should acknowledge the sum total of all your ancestors. Now, for Kamala Harris to go to Howard University, like, Howard University has an amazing legacy. My uncle Mike Thelwell went to Howard University, and he went there with Stokely Carmichael. He wrote Stokely Carmichael's autobiography, Ready for Revolution. And my dad wrote the afterword in the book, okay? my uncle is Jamaican. He came to Howard specifically to study with certain black professors. He could have gone anywhere he wanted to, right? Stokely Carmichael was Trinidadian, and he came to Howard for a particular reason. And Howard has an amazing legacy of black people that have gone there. Black excellence at its best. So to me, I don't feel like, and Kamala Harris could have gone to school in California or wherever she wanted. Her father was a professor at Berkeley or something like that. But she chose Howard for a reason. So to me, that says something about a person when you choose to go to an HBCU. I come from a family that went to HBCUs, but I didn't go to an HBCU, right? And I didn't regret it because I was a science major, and the HBCUs were disappointing my ass because they were lacking so many things. You know, like my twin brother went to Norfolk State, and I remember I used to be so annoyed on his campus with registering for class. Like, you're going to wait in this line for 3 hours and go wait on this line for 2 hours. Shit was mad disorganized. They didn't have the money for a lot of shit. So I went to the University of Delaware, which was a mostly white university, okay? And I didn't go there for that reason. I went there because I was a biotechnology major. A lot of schools didn't have biotechnology to begin with. I got scholarships there. And our homecoming was boring. I don't care about seeing white marching bands and all of that. So the HBCUs are turned in that way. But for me, like, I like a college campus that is up to date and has, you know, things that are easy. And so I never, wished I had gone to an HBCU. But I'm just saying, people who make that conscious effort to do that, that says something about them, right? And I feel like Howard breeds a certain kind of black people. Chadwick Boseman went to Howard. You know, like, who didn't go to Howard that's amazing and black, right? So, I never heard her pledge a black sorority. She's an AKA. So to me, I don't feel like you can say that she doesn't identify with her blackness at all. And she went to Howard University, and she's an AKA, and she's from Oakland, and her parents met at a civil rights protest, okay? Because did your parents go to civil rights protests? Let me know. Because I know a whole lot of people whose parents did not, okay? So, okay. Now, there are people that could say, oh, she has a white husband. Okay, you know, I think that the world is more complex than just simply saying because a black person is with a white person, that means that they don't like black people. Especially, you know, Frederick Douglass had a white wife, you know. Catherine Dunham, if you don't know who Catherine Dunham is, she's done more for black culture than a lot of people. Amazing black scholar. You must look up Catherine Dunham. I did a video about her on my YouTube page. Definitely check it, okay. She was a black scholar, anthropologist, dancer, from the suburbs of Chicago. Every black person should know her. Every anthropologist should know her, and every dancer should know her. But she had a white husband. And what she did, the things that she's done is you know, for black people in America and our progression, it's kind of unmatched in a lot of ways, okay? Josephine Baker had a white husband, you know? So to me, and I have family members in my family that have white spouses. Some of them have identity issues, and they always, like, they think they're white in the inside. And some of them, that's not why they have a white spouse. It's just who they fell in love with, the circumstances in their life. But that wasn't something that they aimed for. You know what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother, I did a whole video about interracial stuff. I'm not going to get completely into that. I'm just going to say that I don't automatically write somebody off because of that, okay? You have to put everything into context, okay? So there's a lot to be said about that. Now, when people talk about her record in California as a prosecutor, there is an interview I saw with, on Democracy Now!, there's a woman who was a public defender, a contemporary of Kamala Harris, and she made a point to come out and say that a lot of things that are being said about Kamala Harris was not true, and that, you know, she didn't send all these black people to jail for marijuana. Instead, she refused to try the cases. That she was extremely progressive, like not just the most progressive, but she was progressive, very progressive, and implemented a lot of programs to help minorities in situations. And you can listen to she also wrote an article, so you can read the article. You can go to the Democracy Now! Interview with the public defender who, you know, was actually standing up for her and saying that a lot of things that people were saying are not true, right? And so, like I said, I like to see facts, because a lot of people that make claims about, you know, Kamala Harris's record or certain things, but I don't see the actual facts to back it up, right? And I feel like, you know, whenever somebody's an attorney, I couldn't be an attorney because I feel like whether you're a defense attorney or a prosecutor, you're going to represent people who don't deserve it. You know, if you're a defense attorney, you might be defending people who got accused of murder who really did murder somebody. And they did some fucked up shit, but you're trying to defend them and get them off. You know what I'm saying? So it could be on both sides, you know, of whether you're a defense attorney or a prosecutor. You can be caught in fucked up situations, right? And a lot of times, you know, to get into these positions, people have to play certain games and they have to make certain deals and, you know, have this relationship with this person. So I feel like being in politics in general and being big time attorneys in general comes with so much of that, you know. And so it's not something that is, you know, super surprising to me. Also, let me see. Okay, so I lost, let me see. Now, the thing is, though, that we do know is that she was, you know, for sure, she was for sure, you know, fighting Donald Trump, right? You know what? Somebody wrote, she was doing the job already set up with rules. Now it's about what she does with the power. Oh, somebody who said Africans were sailing to the Americas for centuries prior to Christopher Columbus ever stepped foot on the soil. They were trading and marrying each, yeah. Not only were Africans in American soil, but indigenous people went to Africa. I don't know why people think it was one way. The only Africans were coming over here. They were also going over there. You know, Africans weren't the only ones who knew how to sail the water, okay? Anyhow. Okay, this person that keeps asking me to dance, I'm going to block you as soon as I get off this Instagram video. That's one thing about me. Don't fucking tell me what to do. If I'm sitting here talking, I'm fucking talking. Okay? So, you think that's cute, making those comments and demands, you're going to get blocked as soon as I get off here. So I'm just letting you know. Okay, so anyhow, I do know that Kamala Harris was in Trump shit, okay? And Donald Trump, black people who think that, I really can't understand the black people who think that Donald Trump is an okay option. That Donald Trump did more for black people than any other president. Because Donald Trump keeps saying that shit. And I see other dumbass black people reciting that shit. Can somebody please tell me, somebody said, why do people blame Kamala Harris for being a strong, intelligent black woman who's winning her cases? I know, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You're a prosecutor, she did her job. You know what I'm saying? You do that, this people's going to get caught up in shit. You know, there's people who make claims that, some of the claims that people make, I just don't see the facts to back it up. But what I do know is that she was very much against the death penalty. I'm not even against the death penalty. But she was very much against the death penalty, and it was someone who killed a cop. And they wanted the death penalty for this dude, and she refused to do it. She went to the cop's funeral, and she got called out because she wouldn't, you know, order the death penalty. She was against the death penalty. Okay, so on the right, they look at her as a very, you know, she's against the police. You know, that's how they see her. But the black people who are so pro-black are looking at her. She's so pro-police. And okay, so she was digging in Donald Trump shit. Now, Donald Trump, you know, please tell me what the fuck he's done for black people. He hasn't done shit. You know what I'm saying? And you know what else? We're not just black. We're human, okay? We're human. And we live on this planet that we can't escape. So if you have a president who doesn't care about the environment, okay, who just every single thing that Obama put into place to protect the environment, to protect the planet, which is important. We can't just jump ship to another planet. We can't do that. And when I was in the 7th grade in a New York City public school, beautiful, I got a great New York City public school education. That's another reason why I fuck with Kamala Harris. She's a product of public schools, okay? This is a lot about her parents, too. This is a lot about her parents. And Kamala Harris wanting to arrest parents in the Bay Area for, allowing their kids not to go to school. I don't have a problem with that neither, okay? Take care of your damn kids. There's too many badass kids running around here, not doing what they're supposed to do. And there's a lot of parents who aren't paying attention. And it's people always, black people, I feel like always want to have, but, they're coming from poor communities and the parents can't pay attention. Man, fuck that, okay? There have been poor black people forever who have had a hold of their kids and who are present, who went to parent-teachers conference, who stayed on their kids' asses, okay? There's a lot of parents now who don't do that, rich or poor. Speak to school teachers. I'm surprised, shocked, and appalled when teachers tell me about how many parents don't come to parent-teachers conferences at all. Like, they don't care. It's not because all of us working and I couldn't come. They just don't care, okay? Those parents should be held accountable. And you think that's bad. There's a lot of African countries and Asian countries and people get into trouble for way less than that, okay? So please, with that. Like, there's certain black people that act like not supposed to be no laws or no rules or no consequences for shit. At some point you gotta take responsibility. Because despite all of that, there's nobody in my family that went to jail for no shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm a weed smoker. I fly with weed. Every single flight I've been on since 2003, I've had weed, whether it's international or national. If I got in trouble one day, I can't get mad at the laws because I knew that you're not supposed to do that. So if I one day got caught and got arrested, I can't be mad, this person prosecuted me, they put this law up. Then you knew that this shit was, you know what I'm saying? So even with that, nobody in my family went to jail for no marijuana or no nothing. You know what I'm saying? My brother, we from Harlem. We didn't sell drugs. We didn't get involved in none of that shit. Because you still have your choices, okay? Now, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but I'm just saying. Now, I have a cousin who, I always get confused with the titles when it comes to attorneys. I think she's assistant DA of Chicago. Or it was whatever, no, she's Assistant Attorney General. I think that's my cousin. In Chicago, actually. She is, and me and her aren't that close anymore, but we were very close growing up. And she's half Asian, half black. Her mother's a Japanese American, her father is Jamaican. That's my Uncle Mike, who went to Howard with Stokely, wrote Stokely Carmichael's autobiography, Ready for Revolution. His daughter, when you look at her, you don't even think that she's half black, She just looks Asian and, like a pretty Japanese girl or something. But she has always been concerned with black issues and fighting for that. And in Chicago, she does a lot of pro bono civil rights stuff and things for, battered women. And she has a white husband, okay? But growing up, she was around black people and everything black, okay? When we were in our early 20s, she had a Haitian boyfriend. She ended up marrying a white man, right? Her brother, who has a PhD in American Studies, did a lot of studying in South Africa. He was a professor at University of Pennsylvania, and now he is a professor, I forget, at some school in Virginia. He has a white wife. Her father, who wrote Stokely's autobiography, he was a part of SNCC. He was, also, very much involved in the movement. And he has a white wife. Now, the thing is that my dad told me is that, and I don't, sometimes I don't want to talk too much because these are people that are known people. But he's like, I don't want this to get back to anybody, but I guess you speak the truth because, I don't know, it's the truth. But a lot of black women, didn't like Mike. Mike liked black women. Black women didn't like him. So if you are a black man that black girls think that you're corny or they don't really like you, like, at the end of the day, you got to get who likes you. If you're a black woman, I've known black women with no ass, for example, right? There's a couple of black girls I know who had no ass at all, and they would always tell me black men don't like them. And I know so many black men who've told me, oh, my girl got to have an ass. She got to have an ass. If she don't got an ass, she worthless. So if you're a black woman with no ass and black dudes don't like you, don't get mad at her if a white man sees her beauty and she gets with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, life is way more complex than just simply thinking because somebody has a spouse that's white or another race that they hate their people or they want it. It's more complicated than that. So I'm just putting that in context to say that my own cousin, because I know there's plenty of people that have black spouses, two black people who ain't doing shit for black people. Plenty of people like that. And a lot of times the people that are half white or got a white spouse be doing the most. Colin Kaepernick, half white. And look at, there's a whole bunch of black ass football players that didn't have the strength to do what the fuck he did. So I could go on with examples like that, but this is just a fact, okay? So that is, you know, to say that, oh, like, she's so horrible because of that. You have to put shit into context. Let's look at the bigger fucking picture. Donald Trump is an idiot, okay? He's a fucking idiot. I'm not going to say that I don't, there are certain things that he might do or say that I agree with at times. Like, I do think something needs to be done about immigration. I don't think it needs to be directed towards Mexicans, because Mexico is a part of we one and the same. And a lot of Americans are in Mexico. I do think European immigrants, African immigrants, Asian immigrants, all of them, they don't need to be coming over here the way they do. And I do feel that way. I do feel like this country is open to too many people. And too many people feel entitled to be in America. Okay, now, somebody could say a white American can't say that because they hijacked the country. Okay, that's true. But I'm an Afro-Indigenous American whose family has fought on this land, and I feel that way, right? Because a lot of times it's at the expense of black Americans. We get put, because even if you think about Obama and Kamala Harris, they're not the same kind of Afro-American as myself. They're not, their families weren't here. So the Native Americans, which are also Afro-Americans, Native American, Afro-American, one and the same, we haven't been president or in any really powerful positions, you know? So that's also another issue. But besides that, the biggest picture here is Joe Biden is definitely more qualified to be in that seat than Trump, because he's been a politician for years and he was a vice president. Donald Trump had no political experience. You should not be able to become president of any country, definitely not of the United States, without having had any political experience. Donald Trump did not know that Puerto Rico was a part of the U.S., okay? He disrespected the fuck out of Puerto Rico when he went there after the hurricane. Total disrespect. There's no way that Joe Biden or anybody, or Kamala Harris, or anybody would have acted, or Obama would have acted that way. It was disgusting. Donald Trump, you know, we have nuclear wars. We have issues with the weather, the environment. He doesn't care. Every single thing Obama put into place to help people with health care, you know, health insurance, with the environment. As soon as Trump gets into office, he wants to overturn it all just to be an immature simp. Not caring about the people, just caring about himself. He is a narcissist. Donald Trump, there's like 1,000 pages of evidence of all the corruption with him in Russia. How much the Russians put so much propaganda out, especially directed towards black people. And a lot of black people don't really read scholarly texts. A lot of Americans don't fucking read. So there's a lot of ignorant-ass Americans, period, whether it be black or white, who get brainwashed by a lot of propaganda. Because people don't know how to read scholarly texts. They don't know how to critically think. And I blame religion for a lot of that. Okay? But, and people's own choices. But it doesn't help being born religious and being born to think, you know, raised religious and being born just go along with stuff with very little evidence, you know? And so because of that, the Russians targeted, you know, a whole lot of black groups and black people that made everybody hate Hillary Clinton, and there's a whole bunch of shit. There's like 1,000 pages of evidence. There's so much corruption. There's people that work for Donald Trump that are in jail right now. I mean, there's not one thing about Donald Trump that says he makes a good president. He's qualified to be a good president. Nothing. Even his maturity and his temperament. So to the black people who push that dumb shit, like, oh, Donald Trump is good for us. Donald Trump cares about us. Donald Trump is better than Biden and Kamala Harris. You sound like idiots. I'm sorry. Some people sometimes can say that I'm harsh, but that's how I really feel. That's how I really, really, really feel. It's like, use your critical thinking. Obama did put some things into office that was great for all of us. It's not just about, like, he wasn't a civil rights leader. He was the president. And as president, if you just focus on black issues and what black people need, you might not become president, because you have to get the vote of a whole bunch of people. And I don't put everything on the president. We have more than just the president. We have local leaders. We have all kinds of things. You know what I'm saying? And people have to organize and have movements. Like a lot of people, I feel like they don't get that. You know, like people are complacent. People are lazy. People think it's not just as simple as voting. You have to be more active than that. You know, and I'm not saying that Obama was perfect, but I don't think he was horrible. And I do think that besides him being black, we live on planet Earth and we need to care about these things. The woman who painted Michelle Obama's portrait, Obamacare saved her life. She needed a heart transplant, okay? And one of my really good friends was friends with her from the 90s, and I remember before she was famous, him telling me this, you know? And she was a struggling artist, and she needed a heart transplant. And it was because of Obamacare that she was able to get it. Then, fast forward later, she ends up being commissioned to paint Michelle Obama's portrait and told them that story. You know, Obamacare did save a lot of people. And so it's easy for people to sit and criticize, and you've never done anything. You've never organized anything. You've never fought for anything. You know how much work that is. Obama was an organizer in the streets of Chicago, in a city that wasn't his, and deep on the South Side. I wouldn't want to do that. I live in Chicago. I've been living here for 4 years. I have no desire to do that. I feel like let Chicago people fix their problems. You know, as an outsider, I'm not trying to come here and get involved in all that shit. You know, so I'm just saying, you get points for that. You know, there's something to be said about that, because a lot of people aren't doing that. A lot of people are sitting on the internet talking shit, not doing anything, and that's not how things get done. Okay, so I respect true organizers and people who truly fight. Now, so Biden, you know, he is familiar with some of the things, you know, that some of the policies Obama put into place, what he stood for. He's at least more qualified. Now, I'm not saying that Biden is perfect, that his record is squeaky clean. I'm not saying that. But the reality of it is, somebody has to be in that office. And there's no way that somebody, and it's either going to be those two. That's the choices we have. If I could have what I want, I'd want it to be Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren for president. I liked Elizabeth Warren, period, point blank, better than everybody. Elizabeth Warren is the shit to me. Okay? I think that she was extremely well-rounded on so many levels. But still, that's not the choice. I'm not fucking voting for Kanye. That's dumb. Like, let's not even talk about that dumb shit, okay? So, if the choice is Donald Trump and Pence and Biden and Harris, can you honestly say, as a black person, of a person who might be a child of immigrants, or you are, can you really, or any person of color, you really think that Donald Trump and Pence has more of your best interests at heart than Biden and Kamala Harris? You know, and I'm not saying that Biden and Kamala Harris care about every black issue. You know, I know that Kamala Harris said in an interview one time that she wasn't necessarily going to be fighting for reparations. You know, I mean, I do think that black Americans deserve reparations. I do think black Americans should not have to pay taxes, should not have to pay for college, should, you know, get priority with a lot of shit. I do. We're owed a whole lot, and it goes beyond just a check. And I feel like money needs to be given to our institutions. I feel like Africans owe us reparations too, because there's a whole lot of Africans over here in the U.S. right now benefiting off of our fight and our struggle and what we put together, but they never give back, and they actively participated in the slave trade and made money off of it. Some of those rich African families need to be donating over here, because we be donating to them and going over there to build an African school and do all, and then they owe us too, in my opinion, right? Okay, I do feel that way. So I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is perfect, and I agree with everything that she said and she stands for, but I do think that with politicians, it's also our job to educate them. It's our job to stay on their ass. You know what I'm saying? So you get Donald Trump and Kamala Harris in the office, not Donald Trump, Biden, you know, and then as people, we continue to stay on their ass about the issues that are important. This is a unique time where people are actually listening to shit a little bit more because of everything that's happened this summer. There's so many things that have changed this summer that nobody ever thought would change. Aunt Jemima changing their name, sports teams changing their names from racist fucking native shit, which is, I've always had a problem with that. Because I always said, if sports teams called, you know, their team the Sambos, the Negroes, the Coloreds, black people will have a fucking problem. And they had a black person with watermelon and big pink lips, we would have a problem. There's no way we would stand for that. So with native people, when you have these teams, the Redskins, all this racist shit to native people, and this is their motherfucking land, that shit is unacceptable to me and has always been unacceptable to me, period. So I think those are beautiful things that has come out of this, you know, and monuments getting torn down. But Donald Trump passed laws that I think now it's a felony, or you get a lot of jail time now for overturning monuments because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, anytime any black person has been killed by the police, or not even just by the police, even like Ahmaud Arbery, any of that, what happened in Charlottesville, he never condemned any of it. He always defended the white supremacists and acted like they were good people. He's never ever said anything to say, I'm sorry that this was wrong. I'm sorry this happened to your kids. What happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin? He came to Kenosha to meet with the police. He didn't, and he defended that 17-year-old kid. So it's just like, as a black person, what the fuck are you smoking? What are you sipping on that makes you think that Donald Trump cares about black Americans at all? He don't even try to pretend. At least, even if Joe Biden didn't mean it, even if he publicly condemns, you know, the people who do shit like this, if he acts with grace and says this is wrong, even if you don't 100% believe in it, it's still important to put that because when you have a president who's just mad disrespectful, the kind of example that sets and what people think is okay on every other level is a horrible thing. And Donald Trump is just, he's not an intelligent, and he has so many cases against him for being a racist in housing in New York. He comes from a documented Klan father. You know, he has a niece or something that just wrote a book about him and the family and his issues and the abuse. He's a narcissist and a horrible example of one. So to me, I'm just like, okay, at this moment, this is not the time to me to be sitting around bashing the fuck out of Kamala Harris. Like she's the worst person on earth and she's out to get us all and send us all to jail. Well, you know the fuck what? If you don't commit crimes, you don't have to worry about going to jail. How about that? Let's just start with that. Then let's just start with the fact that making change it takes active participation from all of us. And a lot of it is saying in politicians' faces, okay? So if the choice is, like I said, between Donald Trump and Pence and Biden and Harris, there's no way that I'm not going to go with Biden and Harris. There's no way that I'm going to say that Trump and Pence is better for us than them. No way. And there's no way that, yeah, that there are better black women that he could have chose. You know, I had this conversation with my dad, and he made some very good points. He also talked about how he thought that Kamala Harris would have been better as a Supreme Court judge than as a VP, you know, and I thought my dad made some good points about that. I'm actually going to post that interview below. When I post this video on YouTube, I'm going to post a link to that interview below so you can hear that. If you really want to listen to somebody who knows what they're talking about and has strong opinions but can back it up and is very knowledgeable about a lot of shit, I'll post that conversation below along with some other conversations that I've had with my dad over the years, because you will at least learn some things from it. I can tell you that for sure. So yeah, so I think I've said everything that I want to say, I think. But I welcome people to put their 2 cents on my YouTube video, but like, come with facts. I don't like, you know, I see so many people like Boyce Watkins who I don't like Tariq Nasheed, who I just recently started listening to, and I respect some of the things that he says, but some of the other things that he says to me is like that pro-black bullshit, because the thing is, like, there are a lot of pro-black men who be on some bullshit. They be chauvinistic. They don't really respect black women. There's a lot of that. And a lot of them, and I also can't get with black people who are so pro-black and they don't care about Native people in this land. Because I don't know a black American who doesn't have Native blood. I don't even know black people from the Caribbean that don't have Native blood. But I definitely don't know, because I'm black American from Turtle Island, I can tell you I've never met a black person in America who does not have Native blood. And if you're a black American watching this video, and you know that to be true in your own family, shout out your tribes. What Native tribes are in your family? Because we don't know the African tribes, but we know our Native tribes. Okay? And we should, and acknowledging that is not saying that you're not acknowledging your blackness. It's not. You should acknowledge all of your ancestors. And like I said, I live on this land, so there's no way I'm going to deny my ancestors that come from this land. Ugh. You wanted the land I married to be vice president? Yeah, I mean, I wanted Elizabeth Warren to be president. You know what I'm saying? But That's the thing. Because we didn't get the person we might have wanted, doesn't mean that you then become immature and say, well, I'm not voting at all. And da, 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 da. Because this affects all of us. And it's not just about people caring about specified black issues. It's also about all of it. Social Security, housing issues. Also another thing, Kamala Harris did fight the banks in California during the housing crisis and got back millions or billions or something dollars back for a lot of homeowners with that. So there's a lot of positive things that she's done too. So it has to be a balanced conversation. And I don't mind dissent. Like I'm not like hardcore Kamala Harris. I'm also I like to study things objectively, the facts, not people's emotional rants. Oh, she has a white husband and she don't care about us and da-da-da. Like, give me facts, okay? So if anybody wants to present them, vetted facts, feel free to post them below. Post your opinions. If you're Afro-American and you have Native blood, let me know. If you're from the Caribbean and you have Native blood, let me know. What's the tribes in your family? That's something I also feel very passionate about. And that's why I use the term Afro-Indigenous. Okay? I don't say African-American because to me, African-American is somebody whose parents are born in Africa. People don't say African-Cuban. They don't say African-Brazilian. They don't say African-Colombian. They say Afro-Colombian, Afro-Cuban, Afro-Brazilian. And they're more connected to Africa than we are. The slave trade in Brazil ended way later than the slave trade did in the U.S. You had people in Brazil who were just a couple generations removed from Africa. And they don't call themselves African-Brazilian. They call themselves Afro-Brazilian. I'm just saying. So I'm gonna leave that I'm gonna leave that here, okay? Be sure that you follow me on YouTube at the Renaissance Amazon, where I will post this video. And if you're on YouTube and you don't follow me on Instagram, be sure to follow me on Instagram at the_Renaissance_Amazon_81. And have a lovely day, people. Bye.